his thrall deal with all this standing around?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Heroes of the Storm, and today we're looking at Reghar, the Shaman of the Earthen Ring, who has been recently added to the game as a support character. Reghar has decent healing in a group setting using chain heals, but can also be talented to have some pretty nice offensive capabilities as well. And he has some pretty nice movement setups, as we'll look at too once we go into his abilities and talents. But before that, I wanted to show off, of course, some of his skins and the recolors of said skin, so you can kind of see what we've got here, since we are still in the alpha phase and not everybody has a chance to come in and take a look. So here is Reghar in his basic skin. Alternate recolor 1 and alternate recolor 2. It's a nice red hue. I actually kind of like that one. Makes him a bit darker. Now looking at his base skin, here is the heroic skin that you will unlock when bringing Reghar up to level 10. And you can see that he has been given another weapon in his other hand for this skin. Alternate skin 1 and alternate skin 2. He also has a Iron Claw Reghar skin, which not everyone's going to like. Not everybody likes this style of armor. I do. But what I like about this particular armor is that one of his skin variations is the only one that makes him a red orc. So if you want to have a red orc in Heroes of the Storm, you're going to have to go with Reghar. You're going to have to go with Iron Claw. And the third variation on this one is gray. Right, now that you've seen the skins and variations, let's go ahead and take him in and have a look at his abilities. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tri-Arena with Reghar, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at his abilities at maximum level to try and make them a little bit easier to get a grip of what kind of power levels we can expect, so we can see how the damage he can do relates to his own health and, of course, enemy's health as well. Alright, so Reghar, as being a shaman, has some really nice movement capability here in the form of his trait, Ghost Wolf. Instead of mounting, Reghar transforms into a Ghost Wolf, which increases his movement speed by 30%. Transformation is instantaneous, and it can be used while moving. Basic attacks in Ghost Wolf form will deal 100% more damage, but will cancel the Ghost Wolf form. So this makes him very mobile compared to other heroes. He shifts instantaneously and goes into Ghost Wolf form, as you can see, and of course can shift out right away. And any attack he does will do double damage. Not ability, just basic attacks. But this makes him very mobile and very easy to get away, because you can run away while shifting into your mount form. And his mount form, 30%, that's the same as other mounts of other characters. So he moves just as fast. So you can easily get away if someone starts chasing you. It can be a very valid tactic to just have that ability ready on the sideline. So if you usually don't have your mount key in a good spot, although you can't rebind keys right now, eventually you should be able to. But if you're not used to hitting that mount key very quickly, you might want to know where it is, because Reghar has a very good synergy with that, being able to use it offensively and defensively. As a matter of fact, as you're attacking minions, it's a very good idea every 4 seconds to just go ahead and hit that button whenever you're about or need to do an attack, so that you can get additional damage. Maybe not on minions, but when you're going towards a hero. So like here, I might shift to Arthas, go into wolf form, get additional damage. You can see I have to go from doing 298 damage to doing about 500 damage in one very quick hit. So now we've seen how mobile he is, let's take a look at some of his abilities. He starts off with Chain Heal, a 9-second cooldown, heals an ally for 930 health, then it heals up to 2 other nearby allies for 465 health. So you have a very strong single target heal, and then it weakens for additional heals, and it heals a total of 3. So you're getting about heals on all but 2 of your characters, or 2 of your party members in a team fight. So we go in and take a little bit of damage, maybe get Arthas to... Well, just get hit by a tower so we can show off the power here.
Expertly done, healer. Keep up that healing.
And I'll just hit Malfurion with that heal, and you can see that. Arthas doing a good job of damaging him. Malfurion healing himself, but his heal is over time, whereas Chain Heal is, of course, direct. So you can see it is fairly strong. So you can talent that up to be even more effective. And of course, you keep in mind you do want to try and target whatever the character is the weakest at the time, or if you have talents that modify it, whichever character is going to give you even more healing off of that. His second ability is Lightning Shield. Has an 8-second cooldown. You imbue an ally with lightning, which does 98 damage to nearby enemies and an additional 980 over 5 seconds. So it takes about 5 seconds, but 980 is a pretty strong damaging ability. In fact, you can see that it kind of lines up a little bit more than what his Chain Heal can do. I'll go ahead and put it on Malfurion there, and you can see that he's going to be doing damage to anything that is nearby him. Now, you can activate this ability on any kind of ally or NPC. I have a totem that I can actually put my lightning shield on. I can put it on the archers. I can possibly put it on buildings. We'll go ahead and take a look at that. Nope, cannot put it on buildings. You can put it on NPCs, though. And, of course, you can put it on yourself. His final ability is the Earthbind Totem. A 15-second totem, or 15-second ability, that creates a totem that slows nearby enemies by 35%. The totem has 675 health and it lasts for 8 seconds, so it's fairly beefy. You can see it doesn't have a huge range. You can use it while chasing, and this is the benefit of Reghar. Not only is he a great support healer, but if you talent him right and you make him offensive, you can chase enemies down with your Ghost Wolf, and you can opt to do the damage while you're chasing, like so. Or as you're chasing, if your allies are nearby to try and help out, you can very quickly put a totem down to slow the enemy down and get near them. All it does is a slow, but you can modify it, of course, to get shields when you cast it automatically, and you can increase its range and slow capabilities. So you can put that down at any time. It's not a bad ability to put down when you can, if you have the mana as well. It prevents enemies from running away if you need to. And it's another target. If enemies have auto attacks, if they're using auto attacks, like if they're using attack move, I will typically use attack move when I'm moving towards a group unless I know who I want to focus. If an enemy is using attack move, they typically will attack the first target in their path. So if you put this totem down and you're attacking, they may automatically attack the totem rather than attacking you. So you can use that as a valid strategy based on who you're fighting. Alright, Reghar has 2 ultimate abilities, much like every other hero at level 10. His first is one of the most iconic for a shaman, Bloodlust. Has a 120-second cooldown, but it gives allied heroes 40% attack speed and 30% movement speed, and it lasts for 10 seconds. 40% attack speed is a very major boon. And if we come up here, we can show off. I'm just going to go ahead and use Bloodlust. We'll wait for a new Arthas to come out, and we can show you just how much headway you can make against an enemy using Bloodlust. This is probably your best support ability to have. And there's Bloodlust. You can see the iconic ability comes up. And you can just see the damage that I'm able to pour out on the Arthas with this ability. So Bloodlust is very strong, especially since it synergizes. You want to make sure you have more people in it as possible, because obviously if your entire team is in it, then you get more benefit from it. You can see it does have a radius, so you'll need to be mindful of that there might be people outside of the radius. Now the good news is at level 20, you can modify Bloodlust in order to be a global ability. It will affect all allied heroes, minions, and mercenaries on the entire battleground, and it can be cast without breaking Ghost Wolf. So not only can I use it while moving, I can use it while in Ghost Wolf. So if I'm getting ready to move in towards an enemy, I can just go ahead and pop it, hit the button, you can see there we go, and I'm ready to attack. Now, it says it works on minions. However, if you take a look at the icon over my head and over Malfurion's head, you can see we have Bloodlust on us. But the minions did not have that icon. So it's actually questionable whether or not minions will be affected by Bloodlust. This very well could be a bug or simply a tooltip error that they have not corrected. So that's something to keep in mind when you play Reghar and when, of course, he comes out for the full game release. Now, as you may have seen, I did use some chasing tactics against Arthas there that Reghar is very good at. When Arthas tried to run away, I shifted into wolf form in order to get a hit on him very quickly. And so those are some tactics that you can pull off yourself. Reghar's secondary heroic ability is Ancestral Healing. This will definitely focus you more towards a healer role. This gives you, after a short delay, you can heal a targeted ally hero for 4,800 health. That is a massive amount of healing, and it's on a 1-minute cooldown, meaning it is actually an ability you can fairly readily use pretty often. 1-minute cooldown is not that bad, and that synergizes with something like battle momentum, so if you're out there and actually doing some attacks, you can bring the cooldown of this ability from 1 minute down to probably 45 seconds or so. The healing is pretty strong if you take into consideration that an average tank, I believe, will have somewhere around 9,000 health. So you're looking at about half of a tank's health. So like, let's go ahead and, I can't obviously do it on Arthas, but if I do it on Malfurion, you'll see he just gained his entire health bar. So it pretty much doubles it up. I mean, if you look at my health bar, I'm at 6,300, so that is a good solid chunk of my health bar, and you could easily use that on a tank to keep them alive. So I would say, and this is one of those abilities, and it's only 80 mana as well, so you could very easily cast it and continue to use it to help support your team. Now, when it comes between the two ultimates, it really seems like Bloodlust is the better choice, but it really is going to depend upon your team composition. If you have a lot of warriors in your group who aren't really doing a lot of damage output, you may want to consider having Ancestral Healing so that you can keep them and yourself alive. I've seen this work very well on tanky characters such as Diablo, who can have upwards to 10,000 health on his character. Now, this is even better when you consider that this can be upgraded at level 20 to be Farseer's Blessing. Ancestral Healing will now heal for 100% of the hero's health. So if you have a tank that does get additional hit point talents, that will increase it even further. So you're sitting there looking at your Ancestral Healing, it's only about half. Well, with this talent, it's now going to be full. And you do AoE healing, so nearby allies are healed for 25% of the healing that was done. So if I go over here, potentially get some damage from Arthas, maybe not. I'll just go ahead and use the ability on Malfurion. You can see it will heal me as well. Boom, and there's the AoE. A fairly in-close AoE. So if you're going to be picking up Ancestral Healing and the Farseer's Blessing, then you may want to work with your team to make sure that when you're about to use it, you clump together. So if you are using some kind of communication tool, that's really nice to know. If you're not using communications tools, just pay attention to your team, see where they are, make sure that they're close enough to each other to really hit everything. So I'll just go ahead and do it again so you can see the range. It's not too bad of a range at all, especially considering that it heals 100% in a single area. And then 25% of the amount. So if you hit a tank that's got 10,000 health and you give them like 9,000 health, you're giving that basically a huge chunk of health to the rest of your team as well. I mean, there's just no doubt about that, no question about that being a super strong heal. But it's going to be very questionable on whether or not that's going to beat out Bloodlust, because Bloodlust is just a huge amount of damage increase in the form of 40% attack speed. Not only that, but the movement speed increase. It helps with not only offense but defense if you need to get away quickly, although because of the attack speed, you really want to be using that offensively. So looking at Reghar's talents, we're going to start at rank 1, of course. We are looking at Spirit Walker's Grace, fairly basic talent. It reduces the mana cost of your chain heal. As you can see, mana cost of chain heal starts at 70. This reduces it to 45%. That is around a 33% reduction in mana cost, so every third cast is roughly free when you look at it that way. It can make you very efficient as a healer, but I'm not sure if it's one I would overly worry about, especially with the new artifact system in play. You can work around that, giving yourself additional mana to where you don't really need to worry about spamming it too much. Some of the other talents might be a little bit better for that, but if you didn't get that artifact, or the artifact system is removed from the final product, then this would be something to look at if you are someone that likes to spam the heals and get them out as quickly as possible. Alternatively, you can get Empowering Charge. This makes Lightning Shield increase the basic attack of the target's next 3 basic attacks by 25%. So you can use this on allies in your lane, or yourself, and give them 3 empowered basic attacks. And that's pretty strong when you consider this also is happening every 8 seconds. You can even combine that with all the other talents, like one that gives it a shield. There's one that makes it wait until the enemy is nearby, but that still starts the timer for the basic attack. So that one actually won't synergize well with this talent. But this one here, the cooldown and mana cost of the shield being reduced. Every 6 seconds you can empower someone's attack by 25%. That's a pretty good boon. You give it to a character that's very strong with their auto attacks, one of your assassins, maybe a Sergeant Hammer if you're sieging buildings, something like that. Alright, so to show off the damage increase that you're going to get from this, we're going to look at the basic attacks I can do with it and without it, and combine it with the Ghost Wolf form. Because I could give it to an ally, but I can combine it with myself. So I'm doing about 46 right now with the shield. I am not doing anything because I can't chase Arthas. That's okay. With the shield, I am doing about 58. So if I put on the shield and then go into Ghost Wolf form, there's a pretty good amount there, but unfortunately wasn't able to really see it. But those do multiply. So I'm getting not only the 25% attack increase from Lightning Shield, but another 100% from that. So I will be doubling it. So if I do 125%, that's 225%. It's a massive increase to your damage. So you see right there, that was 104 on that hit compared to my 58 that I'm doing with the Empowered basic attacks. This can be a very useful talent if you want to be an offensive Reghar. But again, you can pick this up if you want to be support, because you can use it to help your allies in lane. Although there are some other abilities you may want to consider for support. And you want to consider what you're going to be. If you want to be an ally that helps slow down the enemy or helps with healing. Now you can do, of course, a hybrid of the two. You don't have to go one way or the other. You can go with Colossal Totem. This increases the Earthbound Totem, its area, by 50% and its health by 100%. So if we look at the Earthbound Totem normally, we can see that's the range. It's not too bad, but you can see the extent of the range is right within my melee range. So it's kind of short, not able to go out too far. But if I increase it, you can see it's a little bit further, and that means I can use it a little bit more for chasing. And it also covers up almost an entire lane pretty well by itself, just with that one talent alone. Alternatively, you could give yourself another totem in the form of the Healing Totem, a 45-second cooldown totem that you activate to heal yourself and allies in an area for 2% of your maximum health every second for 10 seconds. So it's a 20% heal, but it's over time. The benefit of Healing Totem is that it is not a mana-costing spell, and you can just throw it down with your other heals. And you can see it's got a very wide area, and so you can just basically use this as your area of operations, throw that down, maybe pop a Bloodlust later in the game, and basically keep your allies up using that and get their attacks up as well. So you have to consider if you want to go for the healing or for the Colossal. 20% is nice, but it is over 10 seconds. So it's one of those things that's probably more for sustain rather than it is for getting into a fight. It is still quite useful, but you may want to consider either Spirit Walker's Grace or the Colossal Totem more if you're looking to be more support. Going into rank 4, you've got a few abilities that are pretty standard for this kind of character set, especially a hybrid damage dealer support. You have Focus Attack, which periodically increases your next basic attack by 50%. Now, keep in mind that this is going to synergize with your Empowering Charge, and of course your Ghost Wolf form. So you get that, you get 50% additional damage, 25% from the totem, 100% from the Ghost Wolf. You're seeing that you can actually go in and do a fairly good chunk of burst damage to an enemy when you first encounter them. Just to give a rough idea of what this can do, I'll show off what I hit Arthas for on the initial hit. At 146 at level 5. So let's go ahead and pick up the charge and pick up the focus attack, which should start right away.
Let's go.
Pop the charge. Wolf, hit Arthas, 201. For those looking to do support, you've got 3 pretty good options here. You have Chain Reaction, which increases Chain Heal on Lightning Shielded allies. So an ally that you put your Lightning Shield on will get 25% increased healing. So if you've got a tank or someone that you need to heal up very quickly, you can throw down a lightning shield on them, which helps them do damage, because it does do area damage to whoever you put it on, and then you can get additional healing with your chain reaction. That's an excellent ability to use for support. Now, if you're just trying to help them do damage, you can get Reactive Spark. This causes the lightning shield duration to not start until an enemy is nearby. Now, if you're going to go for that, if you're going to go for Reactive Spark, keep in mind that if you're doing Empowering Charge, which increases your next 3 basic attacks, they do not synergize. I'm going to go ahead and show that off now. So first I'm going to show off the putting it on myself, and you can see the little lightning balls are there, and also I'm getting the 3 stack down here, and it's gone away. So the next 3 basic attacks has to happen right away, but the lightning shield is going to stay on me indefinitely until some kind of minion comes after me. So I'll go ahead and toggle them now and kind of show you. I'll just wait for them to come in. It's just going to be passive right now. So I could basically be in a lane, throw it on myself, throw it on Malfurion here. Now we both have it. And then the moment we get near the enemy, there it goes. It turns on. And you can see Malfurion still has his. So I don't have to recast it on him. And the moment he goes nearby someone or someone comes to him, it will react. So you can use that to help defend some of your squishier players so they can have some sort of damage they can do to melee that are attacking them. The last support one I would suggest would be Farsight. It's a 30-second cooldown. It reveals a target area and any enemies in the area for 4 seconds. This is useful if you've got an enemy team that is fond of using cloaked characters. The reason for that is you really don't have too many ways of dealing with cloaked characters outside of using targeted abilities. So Sergeant Hammer has the Concussive Blast. Here for Reghar, I have only one way to deal with cloaked enemies, and that's with Lightning Shield. I have to have Lightning Shield, and I have to be able to put it on myself. If I walk next to a cloaked character, then they'll be revealed. But other than that, I really don't have a way to get them out of cloak. If I get the spark that doesn't activate until enemies are nearby, it may not proc when they're cloaked. It may be too smart for that. So that means you're only going to have one other option, and that's your Farsight. Of course, granted, you can't have Reactive Spark and Farsight because they're in the same tier, but to give you an idea of how that works, this is why you might get Farsight. I've been on some characters that I would be nearby someone that's cloaked, and all of my abilities were auto-target and not skill shots, and so I couldn't actively do anything about that. A character, for example, like that would be Lily. If you have a character that's on Lily, and there's a cloaked person nearby, they can't do anything about it. You can't target cloaked characters with attacks. Her whirlwind ability or her tornado ability does not target if it can't see them, and then she's got a dragon that buffs and a heal. There's no way she can do anything about it. Even her ultimate won't trigger. So Farsight is great for those moments, and you can use it pretty much globally. As you can see here, I can go ahead and go way over here and activate it. So you can use it. You don't even have to be nearby the person that might need that sight. And it will trigger anyone that's cloaked, so they will be visible for 4 seconds after being marked by this ability. So if you need to help out your team to try and get a pesky cloaker, that's an excellent support ability. Now the last ability for this tier is Feral Heart. It's not really one I really recommend. It does give you 100% increased health and mana regeneration while you're in Ghost Wolf form. That's usually, though, if you're traveling from place to place in your Ghost Wolf form, I mean, it can be good to keep you alive, but I don't really see the major benefit of the increased regeneration for out of combat compared to the other abilities that are on this tier in the previous tier. Just because you can get increased healing, you can get additional damage, or you can even get some very nice abilities for helping your team out, such as Farsight or Reactive Spark, compared to Feral Heart. I'll just go ahead and put it on here so you can see it. We'll take a little bit of damage.
I smell their fear.
And you can see there is my healing, the increased healing with that. It's nice. It's a nice little chunk. I suppose the best part of it would be the mana regeneration. Let's just kind of use a bit of abilities here. And then go back into Ghost Wolf form. But even that's not too great. I really think the other talents are probably going to be better for this tier, rather than Feral Heart. Right, at rank 7 you are given some fairly nice offensive capabilities to go along with some more support abilities as well. Starting off with Battle Momentum, this is a pretty standard one. Basic attacks reduce ability cooldowns by half a second. Now, this synergizes surprisingly well, of course, with Bloodlust, because Bloodlust having a, let's take a look at it here, 120 second cooldown. Keep in mind that you are getting a half a second off of it with every attack. Your attack speed is increased by 40%, so you're sitting there and getting a second off of that with each auto attack after you've used it. So you could use Battle Momentum to try and get Bloodlust back up quicker. So that can be very useful for a support type build or even offensive build, because Bloodlust works well in both, because you are helping your team by helping them do damage. Alternatively, if you're going for more damage yourself, especially if you're stacking things like the empowered or focused attacks and the empowered charge, also not only that, but a feral lunge, which increases the bonus of your wolf. If you're combining all of those, you may even want to consider searing attacks, which is another kind of a basic ability that a lot of heroes can get. This one you activate to increase basic attack damage by 50% for 5 seconds, but each attack costs mana. So if you go through and just run through a whole bunch of abilities, proc a shield on yourself, proc the searing attack, and prop the wolf, you're looking at quite a bit of damage. In fact, once I go over the level 13 abilities, we'll go ahead and take a look at what you might be able to pull off against someone using that combination. At this tier, you can also modify your Earth Shield to include a shield. The shield here says it absorbs 319. If you're looking at level 20... I have about 4,000 health here at level 20. Earth Shield will give me about a 540. So you're looking at a little more than 10% really, which is a pretty decent shield, especially considering that you're using it to do damage to things around you. So you can use that for yourself, and you can use that for your allies. This is one I've typically chosen when I'm doing my assault build, just because it makes it easier to hit the enemy and get away when you're using that for its shield. The last ability at this tier is the Shadow Wolf trait. This one causes you to cloak for 2 seconds when you enter wolf form. That might not seem like that useful. I mean, it's only 2 seconds. You shift into wolf form, and boom, you're cloaked for 2 seconds, and you're out of it. But what's useful about that is if you're worried about dying, and you're trying to avoid, say, a hero that's got something that's going to kill you in the next shot. Let's say Nova's ultimate. If you're trying to get away from that, a cloak can save you, because then she can't target you anymore. So you can basically run away very quickly, and boom, you got 2 seconds to free yourself before she can target you. Now, once the ultimate is activated, I believe it still will hit you. So it's something you want to do before it's about to go off in your face. But this gives you a little bit of brevity of any enemy attacks that may be heading your way, because they can't auto-target you. They may know where you're going, they might be able to see your shimmer, but they may not be able to do anything about it right away. Now, anybody with a skill shot like Stitch's pull-in will still be able to hit you, so you have to be advised of that. 13 has some pretty nice choices, and most of these are going to be more support-based than assault-based, although they can be used in that way as well. Spell Shield will reduce the ability damage you take by 50% for 2 seconds. It can only be triggered once every 30 seconds. So this is a slight shift from what Spell Shield used to do. It used to be Spell Shield worked like block, in that it would block the damage taken by abilities in half. And it would block 2 of those. And then after that, everything else would go through. In this, it's one of those reactive things, so you have to get hit by an ability first. And then after that, you gain the shield, and then you take reduced damage for 2 seconds. That actually kind of makes this stronger in group engagements than you might think. Now, against one-on-one, the blocking 2 over time is probably stronger, because you can sit there, take a couple abilities, retreat for it to come up, go back and re-engage, helps you with sustainability. This way, now that you're getting 50% damage reduction and you're doing that for 2 seconds, if you get hit and stunned, you've got 2 seconds where if the enemy tries to gang up and use a bunch of abilities on you, you're only taking half damage from all of that. Will it save you? Maybe, if you've got your allies around you and maybe you're getting some healing, but it will definitely help you stay on that razor's edge of being alive. Alternatively, you have Healing Surge. This increases chain heal on the primary target by 25%, and you heal an additional target. So that means this will hit a total of 4 characters, so in a group engagement, only one person's not going to get healed. Keep in mind it will jump to minions, but it typically is smart enough to jump to allies first. This can be combined with your your Chain Reaction, in which you're putting Lightning Shield on an ally. That gives them 25% additional healing, plus you're getting this, that's 50% additional healing. And the heal on this is already fairly strong. So you can get a pretty good heal going out there with Chain Heal if you combine Healing Surge with your Chain Reaction. Stormcaller we already talked about a little bit, but let's go over it real quick. This reduces the cooldown of Lightning Shield from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, and its mana cost is reduced by half. This is again very good for support, but it's also very good for Assault because it means you have 2 seconds less on the cooldown timer that you can basically be proccing your shield and giving yourself additional auto attack damage increases. Now you combine that with Battle Momentum, not only are you getting the 6 seconds, but if you attack twice, that's 5 seconds, so you can really reduce the time required between Stormcaller calls and just constantly be proccing that on yourself, doing AoE damage with your shield and doing empowered basic attacks all at the same time. This also means that you can put it on other allies of your lane if you're going more the support role, so you can put it on people more often, and you combine that one with the Reactive Spark and you can get it on more people in your lane without worrying about running out the timer when it's not needed. If you're looking for more lightning damage, though, you can also go Lightning Totem, in which the Earthbind Totem automatically gains Lightning Shield. So we already talked about you can cast Lightning Shield on the Earthbind Totem, but rather than needing to do so, you could just pick up this talent. Granted, this is at level 13, so it may not be the best thing you can use for clearing out a lane, but it does help you to be able to put a totem down, and then it does a bunch of damage, and it prevents you from having to get up close, because one of the downsides of being a melee character like Reghar is if you have enemy range attackers against you, they will try and zone you out of doing damage to a lane or anything like that by just auto-attacking you. Now you can use it to help do additional damage in a group fight, so you can put down a Lightning Shield on yourself, put down Lightning Shield on an ally, and then put down a Lightning Totem, so you're sitting here doing damage to Arthas. Okay, I'm doing lightning damage to him, and my totem is doing lightning damage to him, and he's slowed. And then of course I could use my wolf to chase him, and you can see there he had a very difficult time getting away. And then I can just go around here, do the same thing again. There's my damage, and then there's my totem's damage, and there we go. They're very useful for chasing. So if you're going for a support character that's less heals and maybe more about slows, you could get the Colossal Totem and modify that further with the Lightning Totem, and you could use that to help your team. You can also combine that with Earth Grasp on the next tier, which adds a root to the totem rather than a slow, so not only does it have the Lightning Shield as they're passing by it, but they have to be hit by it for at least 1 second. So there are many different synergies you could play off the totems. Lastly, the Assault talent is Feral Lunge. While in Ghost Wolf, you will lunge a short distance towards your attack target, and the damage bonus of the attacks in Ghost Wolf form is increased from 100 to 200%. So rather than doing double damage, you are going to do triple damage. So you can use that very nicely for combination attack. As we've talked before, many of the talents will come together and synergize for you to get that one real quick burst of damage. You can use it for assassination attempts, or you can use it for a very strong opener in helping your team engage. Level 16 gives us some generic talents, at least 2, but they are kind of useful for the rest of the kit. For instance, we have Berserker, which increases your movement speed and your attack speed. Your attack speed goes up by 40% and your movement speed by 10%. This is basically a personal Bloodlust, and it can only be used once a minute. Now, I do believe that these ones that go up into your upper bar do not get procs from Battle Momentum. It's something that I've been looking at closely, and I haven't been seeing it synergize as well, but it could just be haven't been noticing it. I just want to point that out there in case they don't. But if they do, or if it's just a bug, and they will, it's something you might want to take into consideration, because especially if you've already got Bloodlust, and you have to think about it too, that's going to synergize with Bloodlust. So if you're already using Bloodlust, you could then go into a Berserker Rage as well. So I'll go ahead and show that off here. Just going to go to the tower here and try and keep myself alive. So just watch me. I'm going to be doing my attack. I'm going to Bloodlust. And then Berserk. And you see, there you go. Just took out a tower before they could kill me, just using the raw strength of my active attack. So it's kind of generic, but it synergizes very well with some of the things that he's trying to do. Now, Reghar, honestly, a lot of his abilities are more about doing a really strong hit rather than attacking quickly. But again, we're looking at the synergization with Bloodlust, and it can be useful even if you're kind of doing more support. Now, if you're really going support, though, you're really going to want to look more at Earth Grasp and Blood for Blood. Blood for Blood is the other generic one. It's a minute cooldown. You steal 15% of an enemy's maximum health, and you slow their movement speed by 30%. It's a way to stop them from getting away, keeps them slow. It works very well with your kit because you're already using slows on your totems. And not only that, but if you're really hurting, it gives you the 15% health that you just took away from them. So you can use it to do a quick burst of damage to them and keep yourself healed up. Now, I had mentioned Earth Grasp Totem a little bit earlier, as it gives a root, so that's what it does. It increases the casting range of the totem, and it gives it a root for 1 second. So we look at the basic casting of the totem here, and you can see that it's not too far, and this is the basic, so it doesn't have the extended range. But if I were to gain Earthbound Totem here, and gain the increase the range by 3... I have to trigger it off and on, but there you go. You can see it actually goes very far. An increase in 3 on your range is very significant. So you can use this in conjunction with some of the other totem buffs to maybe get down a long-range lightning shield, a slow, and of course, keep in mind, this does do a root now. So if I toggle the minions, we'll bring them in. Now, the root happens when you cast it. The initial slow becomes a 1 second root. So anything that gets hit by the slow for the first time, we put that down, you can see that puts a root on them for a second. It's kind of hard to see when they're not moving. Let's just put it there. Now, what's hard to test without someone to really help me with it is whether or not the initial root, like if they walk into it, will occur. If it does, it's a very useful escape mechanism as well, because then you get a 1 second root followed by a slow, and it's very hard for them to chase you. It's definitely one I would suggest for those of you who like to do support, who like to do the slowing in lane or do crowd control rather than do healing. Granted, you can do both. You can, in some regards, like here, all you're really losing is mana cost reduction, so you can get the increased range on the totem. What would you be missing on healing would be healing totem in this regard. Other than that, there's really nothing else that you would be losing out on other than healing surge if you wanted to go for the lightning shield. So if you were going for control, you don't have to have the lightning shield. That just helps you do more damage. You could instead go for healing surge and then still get the Earthgrass totem, so you've got a bigger radius and you've got a larger casting range, and that can be very useful for those of you who like to play control. Now, lastly, on this tier at 16 is a very nice ability. This one is Lightning Bond. Casting Lightning Shield on an ally will also cast it on you, and this includes any talent bonuses that you've put onto it. So I talked a little bit about increasing your damage using Empowered Lightning Charge, or Empowered Charge. This is useful, again, for Assault and for support. If you're going for Assault, though, you can really do the Lightning Bond so that when you're going into lane to do damage with your allies, you give them additional damage as well. So if I use this Lightning Bond, I can go in, give Malfurion some bonus attack damage and myself. So we both just did 25% additional damage for 3 hits. Once you've used this talent, or once you've activated this talent, you don't want to ever cast it on yourself if you can avoid it. Because it doesn't matter what you cast it on, you will gain that shield. So I can cast it on the minion there. Get a little bit of extra damage for him and myself. It doesn't matter if it's slightly wasted like that, because it still gives it to me, and that is what I want it to do. I want to have it on me, but I'm using it to modify someone else at the same time. So any chance you get, if you get this talent, you want to be casting it on something else, and that is exceptionally useful. and it will really help you. You put that on a Sergeant Hammer and yourself, and you go in and you do a whole bunch of damage, and you're going to be hitting the enemy really, really strongly. Now, we've already talked about the modifications to the ultimates, Gladiator's War Shout and Farseer's Blessing. Both are very nice. Farseer is very good when you've got a tanking type team to do a whole bunch of healing, and of course the AoE healing if your group is good about sticking together. Now, Gladiator's War Shout does make your Bloodlust global. Now, if they ever fix it to where minions are benefited by this, because it doesn't appear like they are right now, I would say this would probably be the best choice. But honestly, if your team is really good about being close together, this talent may not be that useful to you. I would probably rather say go for Storm Shield or Fury of the Storm based on if you're going support or offense. These are two very good abilities that are very nice for one or the other. Storm Shield grants a shield, shields for 20% of maximum health to everyone around you. That's a wonderful ability for support characters. And if you're doing support Bloodlust, you may want to consider Storm Shield rather than Gladiator's War Shout anyway. So you could do it that way. You'll have a shield and you'll have Bloodlust. Ancestral Healing, if you're using that, you may still want to consider Farseer's Blessing, but again, that's going to probably be more personal because Farseer's already does a lot of healing, and of course you already have your own chain heal and things like that. Based on your own playstyle, that can be very useful. Storm Shield is very nice for that. Now, if you're going offense, Fury of the Storm can also be quite nice. It's 50% of your damage is bounced to additional enemies, so if you're doing the build where you're going to be doing one really strong hit, this is going to get that really strong hit and bounce it to the enemies for you. Alright, to give an idea of how all of these abilities can synergize, I've done a few tests with some towers here. I'm just going to show you the basics. My empowered attack by itself at this level, level 30, I'm getting about 447 on this tower, 297 every subsequent attack. I can combine this with my searing attacks and the bonus in the beginning attack to go up to 596. Combine this further, searing attacks and the shield, 671. And one more time with the wolf at maximum. Altogether, the empowered attack, searing attacks, and lightning shield and ghost wolf fully upgraded. 1,267. And then every 2 hits after that are at 500. Surely about 2,000 damage there. About a third of a person's health bar in the blink of an eye, and including blood for blood will take away even more. I'm just going to hit Arthas with it. And you see 1,200, and I'm just hitting him even further, doing a lot of damage. And I didn't even pop Bloodlust on that, and then here's blood for blood. You can see just even more health going away. So you can do a very massive burst build with Reghar. Move in, do a couple hits, move out. Or just stay on them if you want, because you can keep popping the shield on yourself to give yourself even more damage every few seconds. So here I'm about to get my searing attacks, so I'm going to wait for that to happen. And lots of damage. So those are the kind of things you have the potential to do with Reghar. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this ability overview for Reghar, the Shaman, in Heroes of the Storm. I'll see you next time.